Hello everyone, welcome to this series on critical approaches in literature, and in this video we are going to discuss the common abuses and misunderstandings of the psychological approach. Introduction. The psychological approach to literary criticism, particularly through the lens of Freudian theory, has faced considerable controversy and misunderstanding. While it has the potential to offer profound insights into literature, it has also been subject to significant abuses. This video will explore the historical context of the psychological approach, outline the common abuses and misunderstandings, and suggest ways to apply this approach more effectively and responsibly in literary analysis. Historical context. The psychological approach to literature is not a recent phenomenon. As early as the 4th century BC, Aristotle employed a form of psychological criticism in his definition of tragedy, which he described as combining the emotions of pity and terror to produce catharsis. Similarly, during the English Renaissance, Sir Philip Sidney spoke about the moral effects of poetry, thus engaging in psychological interpretation. Romantic poets like Coleridge, Wordsworth and Shelley also delved into the psychology of imagination in their literary theories. These historical instances show that psychological considerations have long been a part of literary criticism. However, in the 20th century, psychological criticism became closely associated with the psychoanalytic theories of Sigmund Freud and his followers. This association brought about a specific school of thought that focused intensely on the unconscious mind, repressed desires, and symbolic meanings within literary texts. While Freud's ideas provided valuable tools for deeper interpretation, they also led to several abuses and misunderstandings. Common abuses and misunderstandings. Overzealous application of psychoanalytic theory. One major abuse of the psychological approach is the tendency of some critics to push Freudian theses too hard. This often involves forcing literature into a rigid framework of psychoanalytic theory, sometimes at the expense of their relevant considerations such as the work's thematic and aesthetic context. By doing so, critics risk reducing complex literary works to simplistic psychological diagnoses, which can diminish the richness and multifaceted nature of the text. Mystique and jargon. Another issue is the development of a specialized mystique and jargon among some practitioners of psychoanalytic criticism. This can create an exclusive in-group of critics who use terms like anal eroticism, phallic symbol, and Oedipal complex in ways that may seem obscure or pretentious to others. Such language can alienate readers and scholars who are not well versed in psychoanalytic theory, leading to further mistrust and misunderstanding. Misapplication by inadequately trained critics. The psychological approach has also suffered from misapplication by critics who lack a solid understanding of either literature or psychology. Literary scholars who only partially grasp Freudian principles may oversimplify to distort these insights, while professional psychologists who do not fully appreciate literature as art may impose clinical diagnoses that fail to capture the literary work's artistic nuances. This can result in analyses that are either too reductive or too clinically detached, ultimately failing to do justice to the text. Impact on reception of psychological criticism. These abuses have led to widespread mistrust of the psychological approach as a tool for critical analysis. Conservative scholars and teachers of literature, often shocked by psychoanalytic terminology and confused by clinical diagnosis of literary problems, may dismiss psychological criticism as pretentious nonsense. For instance, interpretation of Hamlet's character as suffering from a severe case of hysteria on a cyclothymic basis, that is bipolar disorder, may seem far-fetched and unconvincing to those unfamiliar with psychological theories. Balanced application of psychological criticism. To address these issues, it is essential to approach psychological criticism with a balanced perspective. This involves understanding Freudian principles. Critics should have a thorough understanding of Freudian psychology and its key concepts, such as the unconscious mind, defense mechanisms, and symbolic interpretation. Integrating multiple approaches. Psychological analysis should be complemented by other critical approaches such as formalism, historical biographical criticism, and sociological analysis to provide a more holistic understanding of the text. Avoiding oversimplification. Critics should be cautious not to reduce complex literary works to simple psychoanalytic formulas. Instead, they should explore how psychological insights can enhance rather than overshadow the work's thematic and aesthetic elements. Using accessible language. While technical terms are sometimes necessary, critics should strive to communicate their analysis in clear and accessible language to avoid alienating readers. Conclusion. The psychological approach, particularly when grounded in Freudian theory, offers valuable tools for literary interpretation. However, its potential has often been overshadowed by abuses and misunderstandings. By adopting a balanced and nuanced perspective, critics can utilize psychological insights to deepen their appreciation of literature without falling into the traps of overzealous application, jargon, and misapplication. This balanced approach will enable a more comprehensive and enriching analysis of literary works, fostering a greater understanding of the complex interplay between psychology and literature. So this was the discussion on some misunderstandings and misuses of the psychological approach to literary criticism. We will meet in the next video and discuss some other aspect of this approach. Until then, goodbye and thank you.